In this video, we'll be exploring the functions and features of the Fujikura 90S Plus that enable efficient, low-loss fusion splicing. We'll also go over some helpful tips and tricks for improving your splice process. So, what exactly is core alignment, and why does it matter? Fiber alignment can generally be grouped into two categories: cladding alignment and core alignment. Cladding alignment is the method where the optics of the splicer use the edges of both fibers' cladding to align the fibers together. This method can produce great splices, but alignment accuracy is limited to the manufacturing precision of the fiber since the cores themselves can't be aligned. Core alignment, however, is the method using additional motors attached to the splicer's cameras that allow the splicer to focus on the fibers at the optimal position, which in turn allow the internal structure of the fibers to be seen. Using this technology, not only can the splicer precisely align the cores of two fibers, but it can also differentiate one type of fiber apart from another. This allows you to achieve incredibly low-loss splices while also removing unnecessary complexity from the hands of the operator. When you open up your 90S Plus case, you'll likely have a kit that looks like mine, which includes the splicer, the CT50 cleaver, a hand stripping tool, as well as other accessories like the splicer's charging cord, a USB cable, and the set plates for use with fiber holders or fuse connects. The 90S Plus ships with the universal sheath clamps installed from the factory, but also includes the SP03 set plates to replace the sheath clamps should you opt to splice using fiber holders instead. The splicer can be set up to match a wide variety of work styles and workflows, so taking time for setup will keep splicing the simple and quick process it should be. Following good setup steps will allow you to adapt the splicer to your ideal workflow. Setup begins with determining whether you want to splice using the sheath clamps or the fiber holders. For those who are unfamiliar, the sheath clamps are the spring-loaded clamp arms on either side of the electrodes that hold the fibers in place during the splice. Similarly, the 8010 adapter plate comes pre-installed on the CT50 from the factory. To splice in this configuration, first slide on your protection sleeve, then strip the fiber with the smallest hole of the stripping tool, clean the fiber with the fiber cleaning solvent, and place it in the groove of the adapter plate with the clean glass spanning both cleaver pads. Cleave, then remove the fiber from the cleaver and place it in the splicer's V-groove, with the end of the fiber about halfway between the V-groove and the center of the electrodes. Close the sheath clamp lid to secure the fiber in place. On top of the sheath clamp, use the slider to toggle the secondary clamp between on, green, and off, which is yellow. This secondary clamp controls the splice after the sheath clamps are opened. Use the switch in the base of the sheath clamp to toggle the loose tube adapter feature between on, which is green, and off, which is red. The loose tube adapter introduces a protrusion from the sheath clamp base, allowing you to splice loose tube fiber with ease, eliminating annoying motor overrun errors. Alternatively, the fiber holders, also called chucks or sleds, are simple to use and allow a larger object to grasp when handling fibers. To splice using this method, you'll first convert from the factory setup by removing the sheath clamps from the splicer, installing the set plates in place of the sheath clamps, and removing the adapter plate from the cleaver. The adapter plate is the same size and shape as a fiber holder, so simply removing it allows you to load a fiber holder directly into the cleaver. Each fiber holder has a magnetic lid to hold the fiber in place and two guide holes to locate the fiber holder on the guide pins of the installed set plates. Once your setup is ready, simply load the fiber into the fiber holder with about 30 millimeters or 1.5 inches of fiber off the end. Strip the coating off the fiber, clean, cleave, and drop the fiber holder onto the guide pins to hold it in place. Splicing with fiber holders can improve ease of use and reduce handling errors during the splice. Once loaded in the fiber holder, the fiber doesn't need to be removed until the splice is completely finished. This means the cleave length will be the same every time, and the end of the fiber will always land in the same place in the splicer. The next part of setup is choosing an operation mode that matches your workflow. This can be changed at any point in the future, so don't hesitate to try different options when figuring out what works best. Turn your splicer on and go to Home, then Splice Settings, then Fundamental Settings. In the Fundamental Settings menu, select Operation Mode. This allows you to choose the level of automation you wish to use in your splicing process. With the 90S Plus, you have 6 operation mode options to choose from: Auto LR, Auto, Normal LR, Normal, Manual, and Customized. Auto operation modes offer full automation from start to finish. Once you set the fibers in the splicer, the machine takes over from there. In the normal operation modes, the splicer automatically starts when you set the fibers in the splicer, but then requires the operator to press the set key to open the wind protector and proof test the fibers after the splice. Both the auto and normal modes also have an LR option, where if selected, the sheath clamps will automatically pop open when the wind protector opens. This is where the secondary sheath clamp I mentioned earlier provides a great advantage, since it holds the splice in place after the main sheath clamps open. Manual mode is just what it sounds like, manual, where you, the operator, press the set key to start the splice process, press the set key again at any pause states, and press the set key yet again to open the wind protector and proof test your splice. In this operation mode, sheath clamps have to be manually opened. In the customized operation mode, you can customize the sheath clamp opening, the automation start trigger, automation reaction time, and the position of the wind protector at the on, reset, finish, and error states. One quick note though, if you're splicing in an especially dusty environment, I'd recommend using either normal LR or normal mode, because in both of these modes, the heater oven door will remain closed most of the time. After your splice, press the heat key to open the door, then hold tension on the splice while you drop the splice and sleeve into the heater oven. After heating is finished, the heater door will automatically open for about 10 seconds, after which it will automatically close again to prevent dust from entering. The final setup step is performing an arc calibration. Select the shortcut on the middle of the left-hand side of the screen to open the arc calibration function. Prepare 2 standard single-mode fibers as if you were going to splice, load them into the splicer, and press set or play to begin. This process should only take a few seconds, and is not only a part of initial setup, but also should be done at the beginning of every day to keep your splicer running at peak performance. After setting up your machine, pick a splice mode corresponding to the fiber type you're going to be using, and pick the heater mode corresponding to the shrink sleeves you have. Here, I have 2 standard single mode fibers, so I'll use SM Auto as my splice mode. Picking the right splice mode is one of the biggest contributors to splicing success. Be sure to identify the fiber you're using and select a splice mode that matches the fiber in front of you. The splice mode that only says Auto in the title has 2 functions. It monitors arc power with each splice, making small adjustments as conditions change, and it automatically identifies the fiber type and chooses parameters based on the detected fibers. If you're splicing with many different kinds of fibers or aren't sure of the fiber you're using, start with Auto mode to ensure good results. If you know that you're splicing single mode fiber to single mode fiber, you'd likely start with SM Auto, SM Fast, or SM-SM. Likewise, if you're splicing multi-mode fiber to itself, you'd probably start with either MM Auto, MM Fast, or MM-MM. Any splice mode having the word Auto after it will monitor arc power with each splice and make small tweaks from one splice to the next. This maintains your arc calibration accuracy as conditions change throughout the day. Again, note this is not a substitute for daily arc calibration. Conditions like temperature, barometric pressure, and humidity all affect how much arc power you need in order to precisely melt the fibers. And since every day has different conditions, start the day with a quick arc calibration to get you started, then use a splice mode ending in Auto to keep the initial calibration accurate as the conditions of the day evolve. Any splice mode that has the fast suffix will assume the correct fiber type is loaded, adopt the most recently calibrated arc power value, and set the camera lenses to a predetermined focus position in order to perform the splice in as little time as possible. Splice modes that do not have a suffix are considered special modes, because these modes have an extended parameter list you can edit in order to customize your splice recipe. Use one of these splice modes if you're splicing a special type of fiber or if you have particular parameters you'd like to change. Choosing a heater mode is fairly straightforward. Most of the time, single fibers are protected with 60mm, 40mm, or fuse connect protection sleeves. However, heating profiles are available for other sleeves as well. After choosing your splice mode and heater mode, prepare the fibers to be spliced by following the acronym SICKLE. That is, sleeve, strip, clean, cleave, and load. Sleeve. Slide a clean protection sleeve over one of the fibers you're about to splice. Strip. Use hand strippers or a thermal stripper to remove the protective coating from the fiber. If applicable, now load the fiber into the appropriate fiber holder. Clean. Clean the exposed glass with a fresh lint-free wipe moistened with only either FCC2 fluid or 99% or greater isopropyl alcohol. Cleave. Load the cleaned fiber into the cleaver, fully raise and then gently lower the cleaving arm to cleave the fiber. Remove the fiber from the cleaver before returning the cleaver arm to the ready position. And load. Immediately after cleaving, load the fiber directly into the splicer without putting it down on any other surfaces. Putting the fiber down anywhere increases the risk of getting dust or dirt on the cleaved end of the fiber, as well as in the grooves of the splicer. Never clean the fiber again after cleaving it. It might seem counterintuitive, but this will actually deposit more contamination onto the cleaved end of the fiber. If you develop good, consistent fiber prep habits, your equipment will thank you and your splices will speak for themselves. When using the 90S Plus in conjunction with a CT50 cleaver, you also have the option of using active blade management, which uses Bluetooth communication between the splicer and a connected cleaver to control the cleaver's blade position. When a certain number of bad cleaves are detected in succession, the splicer can command the cleaver blade to rotate. When paired with proper cleaver maintenance, this function helps you avoid the tedious task of keeping count of your cleaves for every blade position by having the splicer keep count for you. Under Other Settings, enable this feature in the Bluetooth settings menu and adjust cleaver-specific parameters in the Cleaver Settings menu. There's also a shortcut to Bluetooth settings on the home screen on the right-hand side along the upper edge of the screen. Once the second fiber is loaded into the splicer, visually verify the position of the fiber's ends. They both should fall about halfway between the inside edge of the V-grooves and the center line of the electrodes. At this point, depending on your operation mode, the splicer may start automatically, or you may have to press set or play. If you haven't turned on any of the pause options, then the splicer will proceed through the entire splice, where you'll see the fibers come together, be inspected by the splicer, and get spliced together. Again, depending on the operation mode, you may need to press the set key or play to tension test the fibers and open the wind protector. Carefully remove the spliced fibers from the splicer and position the shrink sleeve over your splice by using the positioning feature on top of the heater oven. If you're using sheath clamps, you have an additional positioning feature. Grab the fiber opposite the protection sleeve at the edge of the sheath clamp, grab the protection sleeve side and lift the whole splice out of the machine. Then tilt the fiber to center the sleeve over the splice point using your fingers as a position stop. After centering the sleeve, hold tension on the fiber and lower it into the heater oven. Fiber splices have a very good tensile strength, so don't worry about breaking the splice. Hold the splice this way until the heater elements capture the splice protector. If you let go too soon, the sleeve will fall below the heat elements and won't shrink correctly. When the heating cycle is finished, lift the protected splice out of the oven and set it down to cool off. It will be quite hot, so wait a minute or so before touching it. The splicing and heating functions of the machine operate independently of each other, so you're free to begin the next splice as soon as the heating cycle starts. Now that the splice is finished, take some time to do a few practice splices, explore the settings, try out different operation modes. Getting to know your equipment is the best way to set yourself up for future success. The 90S Plus is the workhorse of the core alignment splicing world, boasting the Fujikura reputation for reliability and durability. So when you walk up to the job site with your splicer case in hand, you have more than just a splicing machine. You have the 24/7, 365 live support of the AFL Splicer team, along with our expertise and our dedication to your success. If you have any questions, comments, or issues, simply give us a call at 1-800-235-3423, option 3.